for Sangamon Valley, which, Lisa, remind me, encompasses Argena?
Argena, Bement, Cerro Gordo, DeLand Weldon, and Monticello. I have it a little bit easier because I've got A, B, C, D, M.
I was going to say, in alphabetical order, too.
Yeah.
Look at you go.
That way I get them all.
That's great. Good stuff. How's your year going?
We are having a great year. I've got a group of 8 really engaged students, and they are making the most of their CEO experience, and we've half the year in, and they've accomplished class business. We've done our recruiting pitches to all the juniors, and we're in recruitment.
Already, huh?
Yeah, and then phasing them into their individual business. So a lot going on in CEO.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's go back a month or so now and remind folks, of course, that class business. I talked to the kids a couple of times about it. What did you all do for your class business?
Our class business this year was a CEO Grinch Chase 5K. They took a little bit of a local spin. Several of them have been to the Illini games where they do the Red Grange run and thought that would be fun to incorporate that into a 5K. And so the Grinch got a 5-minute late start and chased down all the runners. And
did he win?
He had about, I think, 20 people beat him, and then there was a medal for those that beat the Grinch. So it was a really fun day.
Are you able to say who the Grinch ended up being?
Yes, it was Will Fusion. He's a cross-country runner from Bement who placed in state. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Good for him. Well, that's fun. And I know you told me that had a great response. Like, people really enjoyed it.
We did. We've had several people ask if we're going to do it again, I think, which is a huge compliment. And the students really took it seriously. And we had a couple of corporate sponsors, Kirby and Edgeguards, that made it all possible, along with several other sponsors. And really did a great job of executing it from start to finish and learned so much along the way.
So I was just kind of thinking out loud here, like if your group next year, I know we're really jumping ahead on that one, but if your group next year wants to do that, do they have to start all over? Or can, like, your kids this year leave them, like, a groundwork if they decide, like, you maybe hold that in a vault or something, but, like, if they've got, like, a groundwork laid for, I don't know, like, what would that look like?
It is completely up to each class.
Right.
And if the class who comes along next year were a part of that and said, hey, we loved that idea and we'd like to put our spin on it and make it our own, they can. Or otherwise they can come up with a completely new idea. We do a brainstorming activity at the very beginning where each student gets 10 Post-it notes and I force them all to fill out all 10, and then those all go up on the wall for all the different ideas that could be class business. And then we do some discussions around those, and then each student gets 3 stickers to vote on which ideas should be our final ideas, and then we have the students research those top 3 ideas and see what would be viable. So that's kind of the process of where they go from what should we do to what are we actually doing?
Yeah, for sure. And that makes sense. I mean, each class is its own entity, right? And so, that makes perfect sense. When it comes to the growth of your kids so far this year, like, did you have a really outgoing group already? Like, what was the personality of this group when you first started?
My personality of this year's group is they're very thoughtful and engaged, and like they probably take a while to process ideas and get them moving, but then do a really nice job of execution along the way and are asking really good questions.
Not overthinkers though, right?
A few of them might be, but they're kind of learning through that as well.
Yeah. Learn deadlines that way, right? Like,
yes.
You can't overthink it when you got a deadline coming up.
Yeah,
so.
And I feel like I'm a recovering or fit that mold of an overthinker,
so you can relate.
I completely understand.
Yeah,
yes,
sure.
Yes.
Sure. That's awesome. Well, of course, the class business, remind us, that really kind of propels the kids into their individual business. How does that work?
So we try to do each step of the process so that they have some experience of doing it with somebody else and coming alongside and learning it before they have to execute it on their own. And especially on the class business, they each kind of take a piece and run with that. So they get to see how somebody else does that before they take on that responsibility on their own. We ask that they come back from Christmas break with a individual business idea, and then they take the skills that they've learned in class business and start to execute. We talk about concept and then delivery and execution. So breaking those into 3 phases over their individual business, and they're in that concept phase right now. Like how much does it cost, and what types of licensing things am I going to need to think through with my individual business. We did a session this morning on insurance, like what does insurance look like for your business, or, in your personal life, how are you going to do insurance for your own personal needs going forward? So.
Sure. Well, and to one of your points there, like licensing, getting a business started, that takes startup money, if you will. Where do those dollars come from for these kids?
So that's another neat aspect of the program, is that the class business, the funds that they earn from the class business go into a student account, and then they have to come up with an individual plan, business plan, and pitch for a grant that then funds their individual business venture. And then the nice thing about that too is that they then have to keep their receipts and turn in reimbursements to be refunded for those. So they're also learning those skills of accounting and accountability, and that my receipt can't just go in my back pocket in the trash, because that's essentially cash, So all of those executive functioning skills are incorporated into it as well.
Right. So now I know the kids, when they get to the point where they have to decide on their individual business, then there's a pitch. Almost like, what is it, Shark Tank? Almost Shark Tank style, right?
So we do a few things with individual business. For my group, our first big pitch is to the board, because our board helps distribute those grants. And we wanted somebody connected with the program and who knows our students and knows our program really well, having oversight over those funds. And then, so that will be in February. In March, we do what's called a banker day, and they sit down with 2 bankers each and walk through their business plan with a banker and get advice on, what's going well in their business and what they could maybe tweak between March and May. So they each get the opportunity to do that. And then in April, to have them pitch ready and ready to talk to the general public about their business, we do a Shark Tank and have a set of sharks that then they pitch their business to. So some of the things are for the sake of the program and for the sake of the growth and learning of our students, are a little bit out of order to what they might be in the real world, but they get to experience each and every one of those, and that hones their individual business throughout the process.
Do you challenge the kids as they're putting together ideas for their personal business? Do you challenge them to essentially challenge themselves? Don't do something easy. Do something that may push your limits, take you outside your comfort zone. How do you approach them with as they're deciding? How do you push them?
Yes, and trying to balance that too with every student is at a different spot. And that's where I love the CEO program, is that we can meet them where they're at too, and also recognize that all of these concepts are new, and that we're asking them to do it in their senior year when they're applying for colleges and doing sports and wrapping all those things up. So really trying to balance, like, pushing beyond what you think you could do just a little bit, and then also keeping it manageable so they're not overwhelmed in May.
Yeah. So remind us what kind of the next several weeks look like for your kids as they get towards that point.
So we are really in the concept phase right now. So they are coming up with their logo, slogan, and brand promise. They're starting to really wrap their heads around what financial, like they have to get it down to the nitty gritty. For example, one of my students is doing seasoning. So what does it cost for the bottles? What does it cost for the labels? What does it cost for my marketing? What does it cost for the product itself? What's my scale of delivery, and how am I delivering this product, and to whom, and what are those channels? And all of that while balancing who needs this and wants this, and who's my target market. Man. So they're really getting an introduction into a lot of great things.
It's amazing we're talking about juniors and seniors in high school doing all of this,
right?
Oh my gosh.
Yes, they do a great job diving in.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, Lisa, let's break here, come back and talk about more with the program. I know you're very active on like the World Wide Web, social media. How do folks follow along with what you're doing?
We are at SangamonValleyCEO.com, and then also at Facebook. You can follow along with all the things that they're doing on a daily basis at our Facebook page, Sangamon Valley CEO.
Very good. Lisa Sheppard is the facilitator for the Sangamon Valley CEO program. Our guest in studio, more to come with her on the morning show. WHOW.
Friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Lisa Sheppard facilitates the Sangamon Valley CEO program and is our guest in studio today. And Lisa, I know you told me at the top, already recruitment time for your program? What the heck?
Yes,
it's January.
I know. But these students do their elections for next year now, and
their elections,
like for next year's classes.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Like everyone, at least at Monticello, freshmen through seniors, sits down with the guidance counselors and creates their schedule for next year.
Oh, and you got to get in
Now.
on that, right?
Yes, yes.
Tell us why.
So you have to apply to be a part of Sangamon Valley CEO and, well, any CEO program. It's a blind application process, so everybody has equal footing as to whether they can be accepted. But so our program is for seniors only. Melanie's program with Central Illinois CEO is juniors and seniors. But the application window for us is January 15th to February 15th. And they apply, they get 2 references and parent approval to be part of the program. And then a board committee who has no idea who the students are makes the final selections as to who's in next year's class.
Wow. So that's going on now.
That's going on now. So it's a really cool process in that our current class gets to go to all the schools and talk to every junior in the district about the possibility of being a CEO student.
So you talk to every student, not just potentially interested students.
Right. We talk to all the juniors, so hopefully pique that interest, because I think CEO is a great program and it fits that student who's very driven and needs that challenge. It fits that student that has no idea what they want to do when they grow up, because we're in 40 to 60 businesses and they get exposure to everything from an accountant to the medical field to, you know, you name it, we've probably been there or can do it if a student has a specific interest. I have one who's interested in foods this year, so we are connecting in with Richland and their chef. You know, so
Nice.
we have a lot of possibilities to meet the students where they're at and expose them to what life after high school might be.
Yeah. So I know you don't know yet, but like, what's the max number of students that can be a part of this program?
The class is capped at 20, so there would be no more than 20 for a single facilitator. Typically, our classes run anywhere from 12 to 20, just depending on how many students apply that year, and mostly it's based on that.
Gotcha. Have you gotten much interest in next year's class yet?
We have around 7 that have finished their application and 8 who are pending. So.
Oh wow, that's a
Yeah,
good number.
yeah.
Do they all make it? Because like, if let's say you don't get to that 20, do they all automatically make it?
It really depends on their application. So it's on the onus of the student. You know, if they are putting forward a good application and have good recommendations, there's a high percentage that if the spot is not filled, we're going to put them in. Like it would be a red flag situation where they just wrote it very poorly and or had poor recommendations or no recommendations or didn't complete part of the application.
I see.
Where they would almost disqualify themselves.
I see. Gotcha. Very good. Well, once they're in, of course, we talked about just that beginning the first semester with the class business. Where do you start with these kids, you know, and where does this program, you know, like day one, what does that look like?
Day one looks like a lot of team building because for many of them in a smaller school district, this is the first time they're working and meeting people outside of who they already know. So really the first month is acclimating them to best business practices, teamwork, accountability. Those type of real world skills is where we start and build a foundation. We do a ropes course, which is always a fun kickoff to the new year, and that's where it starts.
Nice. Well, as the kids get into their, by the way, you said February 15th is last day for recruitment.
Last day for applications.
Applications.
So applications.
Where do folks go to apply?
They go to SangamonValleyCEO.com, and then for Melanie's program, Central Illinois would be CentralIllinoisCEO.com.
Gotcha. Is her timeline the same as yours?
I believe it should be approximately that. I do not know.
Okay.
I do not know the
Gotcha.
final application date for their class.
Gotcha. Very good. So, as you reflect on this year so far, what do you like about your group this year? You said you've got 8.
Yes.
Do they represent all your schools and all that?
Yes, I love that. Of the 8, we represent 4 of the 5 schools. We were going to represent all 5 schools for the first year, which I was really excited about. But then our student from one of the schools had to move out of state right before.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so
That
that
stinks.
was kind of a bummer. But yeah, it's great to have all 4 school districts represented, and I think that really brings a depth, and it brings that experience of having to work with somebody you haven't always worked with into the program. So
Are the kids from, because like one thing I've noticed about kids now is like it seems like they're not like when I was in school, I didn't know kids from other schools. I mean, if I played baseball with them in the summer, I probably did, but other than that, I didn't really. Do you find they know each other when they're coming into your setting?
a few, but not most of them, and
Okay.
not to the level that they have to work and interact with
Right.
each other. They might know a certain person or have talked to them or have hung out with them, but not on a project or we have to
Collaborate
together.
Yeah. What do you like about your group this year?
I really like that they are making the most of the opportunity. They're taking it seriously and really have that inclination to do things and do things well. You know, I felt like class business, they each challenge, like, okay, let's challenge ourselves to get fully funded grants. Let's challenge ourselves to have 100 or more people who are participating in it, and they took those challenges and rose to them. So I really like that they're thoughtful and ask engaging questions, because I think that's what has them get the most out of the program.
Was this a group where you had, a student, 2 or 3 that really, like, you saw them early and it's like, by the end, they're going to be a different person? Like, did you have any of those stories or kids that stand out to you at this point?
The nice thing is there's that person every single year. And I guess what's even better is that every single one of them change and grow. And I think that's my favorite part, our board's favorite part. Everybody who interacts with them early on, and you've seen it too, where if you interact with them early on and then get to interact with them later in the program, it's a really cool aspect that they've changed. And what are and I guess I can flip the script and ask you a question. How do you see that they've grown and changed when you get to see them kind of early on in the process and then later in the year?
Their ability to to speak, you know what I mean? And not necessarily like talk, like that's a bad way to put it, but like look you in the eye, confidently answer a question, not, maybe they pause to think about it, but it's like they come back with a good answer, you know what I mean? Like they didn't know, like not that they didn't know the answer type of a thing. So yeah, it really is a transformation. It's so cool to see. It really is. So Lisa, I hate to do this to you. I have to let you go. Best way for folks to follow your program.
Look us up at SangamonValleyCEO.com. Really encourage, if you know a junior in Argenta, Bement, Cerro Gordo, DeLand, Weldon, Monticello, please direct them towards Sangamon Valley CEO. Once that application window closes, that
done.
opportunity is
Sure.
done for that year.
Very good. Lisa Sheppard, Sangamon Valley CEO Facilitator, our guest. Network News is now.